Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, with episode 17 of our 31 Perfect Albums. I'm joined again by my illustrious co-host. We have Mr. Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Armando, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Still have my same coffee, but I'm doing well. Doing well. Mr. Ken Cheshire, how's it going, Ken?
Good morning. It's going well. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And the one and only Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
Hello, Armando. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached day 17 of our 31 perfect albums list. We have painstakingly put together this list. It was a labor of love. It was just a labor in some cases. And, we have brought these to you, and hopefully you enjoy the content that we're bringing to you. And we hope to hear from you in the comments below. So to kick things off, again, as I see everyone on my screen, I'll pass the mic down below to Mr. Bill Schuster for his first pick of the day. One pick of the day, sorry.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay, this is an extremely successful artist that I'm about to reveal here. In fact, one of the very elite all-time most successful artists in the history of music in England. He's had a very, very long and successful career, but not so much in the States. He had pretty much a brief commercial window in the mid 70s to the very early 80s here in the States with a few hits. And then he faded away and was never heard from again on the charts. Of course, I'm talking about the original English rock and roller, the man who taught you how to move it. It's Cliff Richard with I'm No Hero.
Ooh.
Yeah, I bet nobody saw that one
Wow.
coming.
Blew
This is
my
not a
mind.
deep album. It's not a critically acclaimed album. It's generally on no one's all-time greatest. I bet it's not on the Rolling Stone Top 500 or anything like that. But it means a lot to me. I have a lot of history with this album. When this came out, my dad was stationed at Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska, and we lived in the base housing. And my mom used to work out every day. She would put this cassette on and run up and down the stairs as her workout, and that this was her workout music. So it was played daily. So I got to know the album really well. It's in my DNA now, I'm quite certain. And one of the things I like about it is that it's a very consistent album. It was produced and arranged by Alan Tarney, who had also done the same for and written the big hit that Cliff had on his previous album, We Don't Talk Anymore.
Mm.
And this is a lot more in that vein. And also the drummer, what's his name here? Trevor Spencer thing. Yeah. He co-wrote some of the songs as well. And I did not know until last night when I was doing a little deeper research on this that Alan Tarney and Trevor Spencer were the Tarney Spencer band, who had a song called No Time to Lose, which was a minor rock hit here in the States in both 1979 and 1981. So I had never made that connection in all these years. I've always loved that song, but it's just kind of wild to me that they also pretty much helped create this album. Cliff is kind of along for the ride here. He didn't write any of it. He didn't play any instruments. He's just here singing, and he does a wonderful job. His voice was still in great shape here. He was about 40 at the time. And these are just incessantly catchy songs. And as I said, there's a great consistency because the same people are writing all the material. It's not a hodgepodge of assorted writers. And it's just really, state of the art 1980 mainstream pop. And it's a fun listen, mostly energetic. But yeah, I don't expect this to to appeal to everyone. So, like I said, it does have a deep personal connection to me, so that's part of why it's here. So, Cliff Richard, I'm no hero.
Excellent.
Good choice. You mentioned that before in another show we did a few months back.
Yeah, I probably did. That was probably on our
Top
top
five
five of
albums.
1980.
Yeah, yeah. Good choice. All right, Ken, over to you.
Okay, I'm staying in 1982, the seventh album by one of my favorite artists. Um, as if his earlier albums weren't good enough, he brought in Jeff Emmerich to produce this. I know in the past when we were talking about Sergeant Pepper, we mentioned that that was an album that is the measuring stick for a lot of albums. And this is Elvis Costello's Sergeant Pepper Imperial Bedroom.
Nice.
Okay, I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
Oh.
the amazing thing, and you can tell the Jeff Emmerich production because it is multi-layered, both vocally and instrumentally, to the point that there is absolutely no way they could recreate this on stage the way that it was recorded. Lots and lots of dubbing, lots of layers. Charted at number 30 on the US. I know it's not a lot of Costello's fans' favorite album, but for me it is. During this time of release, a lot of the critics uh, compared these songs to songs of Cole Porter and George Gershwin.
Yeah.
Costello is such an amazing wordsmith, and he pulls out all the stops on this. And they did not bring in any other musicians on this album. It's just Elvis and the Attractions. They did it all. It just goes to show what phenomenal musicians they really were. And only two singles, You Little Fool and Man Out of Time. There will be later expanded releases of this album that demonstrated other takes, some of them very, very different in style from what showed up on the album. But this one is just, it's like we mentioned about some other albums, it's got a very sophisticated sound. And of course, he came out with many fantastic albums after this. I discovered him in the late 70s with this year's model. This does not have that new wave sound to it. It's just its own element. There are some stuff he's done since then that kind of has the same flavor. But thanks to his idea and Jeff Emmerich's production, it's a real treat to the ear for me. And the lyrics are brilliant.
Yeah.
Are brilliant. So, Imperial Bedroom, Elvis Costello, July 2nd, 1982.
Can I give an additional shout out to Beyond Belief and Shabby Doll as
Yes.
two more standouts from that record?
Yes. Yes.
See, this
All right.
as a Joe Jackson fan, I have always felt like I should absolutely love Elvis Costello too, but I think I've been intimidated by his catalog because it's so huge.
Yes.
I like what I've heard, but would you say Imperial Bedroom is a good place to enter the catalog?
Ooh.
That's a
It
good
is,
question.
except for it's not representative of his early work. The first
Right.
three albums, especially if you like Joe Jackson, I think you would particularly like the first three albums. It's got a lot of the same flavor, as the early Joe Jackson.
As a Joe Jackson fan, let me qualify that. The first couple albums are actually among my least favorite. I like
Oh, okay.
them, but
Okay.
I
In
prefer
that
more
case,
mature stuff.
yeah, in that case, yeah, Imperial Bedroom would be a good jump in.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay,
If you wanted
we're
kind
gonna
of
get
a
copies of the album. Bill and I, we're gonna look into it, right, Bill?
Yeah, Imperial Bedroom is great. If you want kind of like a broader overview, I highly, highly recommend the Girls Greatest Hits collection, which
Compilation,
covers his Columbia years. fantastic overview. So if you don't mind cherry picking, through someone's catalog, again, girls, highly recommended.
All right, there goes my
No
bank
problem
account.
with that.
And if you really like bass guitar playing, any of the Elvis
Oh.
Costello albums with Bruce Thomas on bass, it's just his playing is just absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely incredible, which is most of the album with the Attractions.
Okay. Now I gotta check out Imperial Bedroom. Okay. It's gonna be interesting. Thank you for that. All right. Over to you, Jim.
Over to me. I have entered the 1980s with this day,
Finally.
and yeah, finally. And again, since I'm the time laggard here, I'm finding that again, this is an album that's already been discussed by this august panel, and this is Duke by Genesis. Obviously this is that period of time where people begin to think that, Genesis, jumped the shark. I mean, obviously they would jump it again and again, but Duke for me is perfect. And I can't say that about Foxtrot. I can't say that about Selling England by the Pound. We talked about before. I can't say that about A Trick of the Tail or Wind and Weathering. To me, there's always just like one track off it that keeps it from being perfect, all killer, no filler, as we talk about.
Did put on
But
that proverbial bulletproof vest there, man. I mean,
I know I'm gonna
talking
get
smack about
slagged.
Foxtrot. Oh my
I
God.
really well, Timetable is kind of a weak song.
It's all opinion. I'm joking.
It's all opinion. It's all opinion. And I remember on Twitter one time when someone was running something about albums of the 80s, and I listed my top five. Like my number one was Duke. And someone was like, Duke, what are you, an idiot? What about Joy Division? And I'm like, I don't care for Joy Division. Sorry. And he wrote back and said, you're a Muppet. So I always associate
I would
Duke
have had a stronger
with
word for him, but go
with
on.
my being called a Muppet, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So anyway, Duke to me, it's grand and breezy and delicate and charging. To me, this is one of the finest merges of prog and pop that I've ever heard. Um, and I think this is, for me, the most consistently great Genesis LP. There's just not a bad track on here, in my opinion. Ken, this was on your list earlier, I think, and
Right.
The whole, the whole first four songs, including through Man at a Time, are just like powerful, powerful stuff. Misunderstanding, of course. Heat Haze is a fantastic, Genesis deep cut.
Mhm.
I think most Genesis fans are going to go, yeah, that's a good one. Please Don't Ask is, it's, was written during the same sessions that ended up producing Face Value. So of course it's a very emotionally deep, rich song, and there's nothing else like it in the Genesis catalog. Still, even if you count their forward material, and then just the whole two concluding tracks with Duke Travels and Duke's End, that's just them, kind of entering that brand X type category that Phil, brought into the band. And, this is another album where I'm glad that they've, kind of bookended things. We talked about that with Wish You Were Here, and I'm glad they didn't just have the Duke suite as all of side one, and then you'd be left with a side B of like, clunky leftovers. To me, it gives the album a cohesion and a satisfaction of just, from the start of Behind the Lines all the way through the ending fanfare of Duke's End. It's just a fantastic listen. And again, there are, lots of Genesis purists out there who would say I'm off my rocker or a Muppet. And that may very well be the case, but for me, Duke is a perfect album. Harumph.
I agree.
Yep, no, that is a good album. That was for the longest time. That was one of my desert island discs. Because I love that album.
Yeah.
That is a good choice. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're very welcome.
I can stay on the panel then?
Of
I'm all
course
right.
you can.
All
This
right.
was your idea. Of course you can, for God's sake.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
How can I get out of this now? About it.
Keep it up. Doing a good job.
All right. All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my choice for day 17. A definite ass shaker of an album. We are going to October 14th, 1981 with Prince and Controversy. All right. This is probably as far from progressive rock and A-Shine that you're going to get. His fourth release for Warner Brothers. 8 tracks in total. I've had many one-sided conversations or one-sided arguments about comparing Prince to Michael Jackson in terms of entertainers. Back the truck up. Number one, there is no comparison. Prince was a musician, arranger, producer, performer. He was it. Michael Jackson, to me, was not a musician. He never played an instrument. There's no comparison. Now, let's go through this track listing here. Again, 8 tracks in total. Very charged album on many levels. Again, there is the sexual content. Okay. It starts off
From Prince?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
I know. The aha moment. 3 tracks on side 1. The disco influenced Controversy, that thumping bass drum and bass guitar coming in. Prince does all 99% of the instrumentation on this album. Then it, again, the title track Controversy has that tagline, that breakdown section where he says, he says, people call me rude. I wish we all were nude. I wish there was no black and white. I wish there were no rules. Okay, like just think about that. I wish there were no rules kind of mentality. And then he recites the Lord's Prayer in the song. Like, I mean, it's just on the breakdown section. It's amazing. And then it goes into the sort of punk new wave-ish sexuality. The side 1 ends off with the track Do Me Baby. Yes, there's a theme here. The ballad, which is another 7-minute plus. There's been controversy on that track saying that Andre Cymone wrote that track. Andre Cymone was Prince's bass player up until 1981. Prince apparently took ownership of that track. It can't be verified up to this point. Side 2 starts off with Private Joy. This is where, again, Private Joy goes without saying, all right? But Prince uses the Lin 1 drum machine to its fullest. Then it segues into the minute plus track, which is the more political track, Ron, You Talk to Russia. And then it goes into Let's Work, ass shaking track. This is one of the tracks that was released as a promotional single. Beautiful, just funky bass. I mean, it leaves a stain on you. That's how good it is. That's how funky it is. And then it goes into, I guess you call it the new wave track, Annie Christian, where it talks about gun control, heavy subject matter. And then it goes into the funk rockabilly track, wait for it, Jack You Off. Okay, it is what it is. It's funny, it's funky, it's again, it's got that rockabilly kind of a feel. It's just perfect. And again, these albums for me, or the albums I pick, don't have to be deep in terms of thematic premise or philosophical ideas. They just need to make you feel good. And this album, top to bottom, makes me feel good. I know people were expecting maybe 1999 or Purple Rain. Those are fantastic albums, but this is a bit of an underdog. And this was the album that he opened for the Rolling Stones on this tour. The ill-fated
The
attempt.
ill-fated, yeah.
Oh, attempt. I mean, the guy comes out in a trench coat and in like boots and like a bikini briefs, and he's like strutting on stage, and he gets a beer bottle thrown at him, and he has to duck, and he leaves the stage. I mean, he tried both times. There were two attempts to open for the Stones, but I just think this is a fantastic album, and I think it should be talked about even more. There should be a box set reissue of this album, because there's a lot of material that he wrote that never made it to this album. This was the end of his 4-album deal with Warner Brothers. They signed him, thank God, to another deal, and he took off from this point on. So that is my choice for day 17.
I'm willing to bet as the estate goes through the vault and finds more material that you will get your wish on that
Yeah.
controversy box set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned to me that there was going to be, because this is the 40th anniversary release of Purple Rain, that there was going to be a massive set released from the vaults. But you know what? Warner Brothers has ownership of Purple Rain due to the movie, so it didn't happen. And this person that told me this, who guaranteed me it was going to happen, was basically full of shit. And you know who you are, so I'm not even going to go there. And I'm calling you out. Yes, I am, but I'm not even going to mention your name because it's not worth mentioning. So, but no, this album needs to be talked about even more, a lot more than it is. He was an artist that knew exactly what he wanted in the studio, the sounds he wanted, the music he wanted to create, and his takes were usually like 1 or 2 or 3 at the most. And yeah, I think he should be talked about a little more than he is. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our picks for day 17 of our 31 perfect albums. Please put down in the comments as I straighten out my notes and get ready to hit the stop button. Again, please put your comments down below of what you consider to be your perfect album. Again, there are no rules and no restrictions as to what is a perfect album. I want to thank everybody on the panel. You have made this experience for me very enjoyable, and it's been fantastic. I'm enjoying this immensely. I don't want this to end, but it's going to end eventually. So again, I want to thank Bill, Ken, and Jim for joining me on this wonderful adventure. And please join us again for episode 18 of 31 Perfect Albums. Look after yourselves and one another. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.